While we're still anticipating Elon Musk's Twitterverse, this $44 billion acquisition is bound to go down in history books. We wouldn't blame you if you call this Twitter deal one of the worst trades in the history of trade deals. Things took an interesting turn when Twitter employees took their swing at the tech/billionaire extraordinaire. Sit tight as we bring you a complete roundup of current developments in Musk's Twitterverse and the latest leaked Slack messages controversy. Let's start with what went down on Slack and some Twitter. Twitter employees surely know how to start a drama, and they did so on their company's Slack account. Okay, if you aren't aware of what Slack is, don't worry, we got you. Consider Slack a messaging platform very much like Discord, but it's more for professional settings and virtual workplaces. So especially after work from home requirements, Twitter employees started to use this channel more frequently. Now, as long as the hectic workplace environment goes, meeting your friends for a drink or two on a Friday night is an absolute must. How else are you going to complain about your boss with your workplace bestie? And Twitter employees are no different. You'd expect employees of a multi-billion-dollar company to unwind here and there only. After all, these people are constantly living up to the hustle culture. But nope, they're just like us. So what did Twitter employees think about their new potential owner, Elon Musk? To cut right to the chase, certain employees hate Elon Musk. They aren't happy that Musk, who's infamous for some of his radical opinions, is going to take over their company, which built its brand over free speech. Now, you can make all sorts of arguments if Twitter stayed true to its brand or not, but the important thing here is that Twitter is generally considered to be a more moderate and accepting company. On the other hand, Elon has certain belief systems that he chooses to advertise on Twitter all the time. And it seems like Twitter employees are having none of it. But we're pretty sure Twitter employees are living their worst nightmares as their rants against Elon became public. Oh yes, a company that's supposed to champion user data and information is now a victim of leaked messages. Like Musk, the irony isn't lost on us, and Elon Musk only had one reaction to Slack's chaotic mess. He's generally a man of many words or a meme that shoots to kill. But this time, Elon's comments just settled on a single yet vague comment. He called the leaked messages interesting and nothing else. Like all of you, we aren't sure what exactly that means. Is that a threat, or is Elon going to forgive and let go? Well, we don't know. Not yet, at least. Next up, what exactly did the Twitter employees complain about? Well, one of Twitter's senior staff software managers started his rant on Musk by hurling some unspeakable profanities at the man. If you think that's got a sting, he's further proceeded to tell his peers that Elon's acquisition is nothing short of 5 stages of grief. He seemed to console his peers about Elon's vague plans about the social media platform and his shyness from staying moderate in his policies. For the most part, such concerns seem quite legit, to throw off Mark Zuckerberg to the Metacritics. Elon has mentioned that he won't be monopolizing his control over Twitter. In fact, he's going to relay a lot of decision-making capacities to his employees and the board. But other than open-source Twitter with no bots, Elon hasn't revealed much about his plans with the social media platform. So when everything's said and done, the anxieties of Twitter employees seem fair. And it seems like Twitter employees aren't risking their future with Elon's Twitterverse. A senior staff video engineer even announced his decision to quit the company. Seems a little too much, right? Well, as of now, certain Twitter employees are furious over the potential Twitter takeover by Elon. Because one thing is quite obvious. No matter where Elon invests, he's known to align his business practices with his belief system. Remember how he pushed for Tesla warehouses to operate during peak COVID times? Mainly because he didn't believe in a shut economy to save lives? Yep, that happened. Perhaps the most considerable backlash to the Elon Twitter deal comes from the non-binary or LGBTQ+ employees of the company. Elon has never shied away from publicizing his conservative views about not paying heed to personal pronouns or trans-identifying people. And Elon isn't too fond of people who identify as non-heterosexual. So it makes sense that his biggest critics are the non-binary or trans and non-heterosexual employees of Twitter. A non-binary site reliability engineer of Twitter said, and we quote, "physically cringy watching Elon talk about free speech." So, how did Twitter respond to the internal backlash from its employees? After the news of Elon's acquisition of Twitter became public, the employees weren't happy, and Twitter was well aware of the backlash that was about to come. Unsurprisingly, Twitter employees have been on their anti-Elon Musk agenda for quite a while. From the leaks posted on Twitter, we can see them making memes on his infamous takes and just unwarranted opinions. In a classic corporate manner, Twitter execs decided to monitor the chats of their employees. And yep, they locked in some serious memeing of Elon Musk to avoid any leaks or to get rid of their employees if they went too far. But Twitter never anticipated a mass public leak of their Slack server. We're still waiting on an official statement from the Twitter execs, but in the meanwhile, if Elon completely takes over, Twitter employees might be subjected to an HR investigation. Now let's talk about some other news. Coming up next, what happened in Elon's meeting with the Twitter employees. Twitter execs arranged an all-hands meeting between their employees and Elon before the official takeover. The purpose of the meeting was to make employees less uneasy about the transition and ownership. But hey, did you expect this to go right? Not us. To start, Elon was late for the meeting, and when he finally joined the employees, he dropped the worst imaginable bombshell. Yep, he announced that some employees would be let go from the company, something he likes to call rationalizing the headcount. After this chaos, Elon shouldn't have expected some positive reviews on Slack, and the employees responded to this looming threat with some A-grade Elon memes. In this economy, that seems like a justified reaction to potentially devastating news. According to Vox Media, Elon assured the employees that he loves Twitter, but the employees didn't buy into that claim. In fact, many employees believe Elon is going to use Twitter as a weapon to manipulate what free speech means in America, and that's to input hateful rhetoric of homophobia and transphobia under the disguise of the First Amendment. So far, Elon has not commented on the diversity of Twitter's workforce. Instead, he was more interested in talking about the existence of aliens and how Twitter can help us to communicate with them. Yup, Elon's grand Twitter plans include formalizing some sort of civilization with the space folks, and at this point, we're not surprised. Now, let's talk about if we're surprised by angry Twitter employees. Believe it or not, several Twitter employees have publicly criticized Twitter's takeover by Elon. So when media outlets were reporting the Slack leak as some huge revelation, many of us weren't surprised, because Twitter employees have been standing their ground on Twitter for quite a while. Twitter's engineer manager, Jay Haller, famously had a very public meltdown when he went off on Elon Musk. In several tweets, he mentioned how Elon has notoriously made use of his business platforms to drive hateful rhetoric against certain marginalized members of the community. So, with that sort of behavior, we shouldn't give Elon more power than he has. Many Twitter users poured their support and solidarity for Jay Haller, but many pro-Elon fanatics called Twitter employees who mix their personal beliefs with their source of employment. Some users even went as far as to provoke Twitter employees into filing a mass resignation and finding work elsewhere. As we're yet to see how Twitter thrives under Elon, we can't really make judgments about how hostile the work environment might or might not get. However, Slack messages are Exhibit A that many Twitter employees would be jumping off the ship under Elon's captaincy. And finally, what's up with Elon's relationship with his employees? Twitter employees are yet to call Elon their chief boss, but if there's anyone who knows what type of boss Elon is, those are Tesla or SpaceX employees. And by the looks of it, Elon isn't faring well with the SpaceX employees. In June 2022, The Verge reported that SpaceX employees have written an open letter to Elon Musk, and no, it's not a thank you note. Actually, employees are upset that Elon's behavior online reflects poorly on them and the company. They cited their concerns on how influential Elon's tweets are in garnering hate or misinformation on subjects like non-binary identities or COVID-19 vaccines. And those employees are worried about the communal well-being that can be disrupted through any form of hate speech. All things said and done, Elon isn't winning any Boss of the Year awards, unless he makes one for himself. That's a wrap for this video. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.